Why, hello there, my name is Depth Charge 2030, and today I'm talking about Constantine issue number 14. Take a look at this comic art, and holy crap, that's cool, that's cool. That's Constantine, he's on fire in a building, and he's on fire, he's not having a good time, he's not having a good time. Uh, I'd say this is kind of the most vibrant cover art we've had in a while for the Constantine series. It's just him on fire, and it's very colorful, not dulled out and like muted like all the other covers. This is just full on like I'm on fire. And yeah, so that's cool. I like it. So let's jump right in and talk about the issue. And so the comic opens up in Arizona, where these two people, one person named Priscilla, one named Lena, and basically Priscilla's been called to this shack in the middle of nowhere, and she steps into it, and then it turns into her home from when she was a teenager, and then it sets itself on fire after she realized, well, wait a second, I burnt this place down years ago, and then she kind of dies in the fire. And so, yeah. And so Lena, she's like, I gotta go, I don't know, I gotta find help, And then Constantine just pulls up in a car I presume he stole, and it's just like, hey, what's up? There's something calling out to me, that wants me to go to the shack somewhere. You mind taking me there? And so Lena hops in the car. They go out to go find the shack, which is actually not where it used to be. Actually, it moves around, so that's cool. So that happens, and so they kind of talk about how Priscilla basically burnt down her old house, apartment building, and how basically her father died in there. And so that leads Lena to be like, oh, if this shack is calling out to you, then Constantine, does that mean you burnt down something or a building from when you were a child? And he's like, maybe. You don't know. I'm Constantine. Ooh. And so then Constantine, they find the shack, and so he goes in there, and Lena's like, you shouldn't go in there. And then he goes in, and then he's in his childhood home, and he's like, what the hell is going on? And so that's when he's just like, wait a second, this has to be fake. I burned it down. No illusions, right? And then when he casts a little spell to make all the illusions go, he's kind of seeing visions of the house burning down in his mind, and then he's kind of just in the shack, and it's burnt down, it's pretty old, and there are like dead bodies everywhere, presumably from people who have walked into the shack before, and so that's there. And so Lena is like, hey, what's going on? He's like, stay back, and then Apache Chief shows up and is just in a pretty, I want to say spooky manner, and I don't know this guy's name, but I just associate, oh, it's Apache Chief, except Constantine version. I dig this, except it's not. He's not going in at Chuck Super Friends. So, yeah. And so then the spirit just smashes Constantine and just proclaims his grand plan. He's like, I am a spirit, and I was murdered with my lover here back way then because of people, and so the gods will grant me the ability to see her again if I kill enough of you people who burn down loved ones and stuff. And then also get a little excerpt of what's going on with the cult of the Cold Flame, and they're like, oh man, you know what happened in Forever Evil Blight? Yeah, that kind of just threw everyone off balance, and that's happening. This is kind of like the downside of this issue, really. It just slows down to show what they're up to, and they're just sitting around. They're like, ha ha ha, I'm Sargon the Sorceress. I killed my father. And then we got back to the action where all the good stuff is, and Constantine just like stabs the spirit with the Moonblade with Mystery's soul in it, and he's just like, you mind waiting there, dude? I gotta go smoke a cigarette right now. So, excuse me. And then the spirit just attacks him, is just like, ha ha ha, I will burn you. And then it kind of really just forces John to realize what he did, how he looks back, and it turns out so when he was young, he actually performed a a spell, and it required a sacrifice. So that wound up burning down his house and killing his parents. So that happened, and so he was actually told this by some random demon, I guess, and so he was promised to become a great wizard when he did it, but that didn't pan out. So that happened. And then it turns out he points to Lena, who's just sitting over there, and it's like, "Oh, hey, dude, spirit, you should. That's her. That's your bride or lover from way back then, but reincarnated." And he makes all the connections. He's like, "Oh, that's why you would never go into the shack because you're so afraid, like back then, ha." And so the two lovers, they get together, they burn, and I guess are no longer a threat anymore. They're dead. I can't even say the spirit is dead because it's kind of not alive. So they're not here anymore. They're gone. Constantine's just like, God damn it, that happened. And so he talks with Mr. E and he's like, okay, how did I know that spell? He's like, how did this happen? And then Mr. E is just like, oh, there was someone put a spell in your mind back then, and I will tell you, not. Although I will give you a hint as to who did it, and he's just like, okay, okay, what's your hint? And he's like, oh, you will find a witch in Hong Kong named Graceful Moon. There's where you will find the answers you seek, Dorothy. And that's where the comic ends. What I think about this issue, it's a Constantine adventure. It's basically just Constantine just on an adventure, and I like that. In this day and age where comic books are like, let's go on an adventure, there's not that anymore. There's not just, let's have an adventure. That's more like Transformers nowadays. Like, DC Comics, they're like, no, we gotta do this other realism, grittiness kind of stuff. But that's what I like about Constantine. He's kind of doing that, while at the same time we get these cool little adventures with him that are like, oh, this is Constantine's day-to-day, and that's cool. And this issue really just shows Constantine at what he's good at. He's good at being like, oh, I'm the con man. Yeah, and yeah, it's a good Constantine issue. I give this a 3.5 out of 5. It's a good issue, and yeah, it's a good issue. So my name's Depth Charge 2030. I hope you enjoyed this review, and yes, thanks for watching. It means a lot. So take care.